Hey everybody, it's me, back again with another bird-related video. My apologies, this is going to be a pretty short one, just because I want to do my classwork, to be honest. Spring break's over for Miami, so figured I'd try and hit all the topics as quickly as possible. Given light of recent events, mainly a lot of state closures that are just getting worse and worse. More and more stuff is being closed. I know I can say that with full um, confidence that Illinois is doing that. A lot of now state parks and everything like that is being closed. And I know it's probably the same for a lot of neighboring states. I just wanted to kind of record a video that was based on a couple ways and a couple bird-related tips and tricks that I'm personally using to get myself through this quarantine scenario and keep from going any more crazy in my head than I already am. Obviously, we're all bird nerds, so we're all a little bit cuckoo. Get that pun? But but I really just wanted to share some tips and tricks and things that I'm doing that I'm using to get myself through this period of quarantine, because it's going to have to get worse before it gets better, and got to do your best to keep yourself sane, especially with more and more things being closed seemingly daily. So I have 3 tips and tricks. First thing, definitely get creative. I know one thing that I've been really falling into since I've gotten home is woodworking. My father's really big on woodwork. My whole family is really, so like I've kind of got a little bit of a background in it. And last winter break, I decided I was going to make an owl box as a gift for a family member. Really enjoyed it back then. It's super fun, super easy. Materials are super easy to come by too, especially if you've got like the tools necessary, which admittedly for most of it isn't much. I use table saw, all that kind of stuff. I do use stuff to bevel what I'm working with, but for the most part, you don't really need to do that. That's more just me putting my personal spin on it as well and trying to put out what I want to put out. And I'm definitely falling back into that again. I think I mentioned the Bird Club anyways, but I know one thing that I'm going to do with this whole YouTube channel, I'll probably do like a DIY bird box thing and just give a synopsis of what I do, my process in making a bird box, whether it's for owls, bluebirds, anything like that. And I know it's something that I really enjoy and I really, really love to do, because you can put it out in your backyard. You can look at something, you've made something, you're proud of it. And just getting creative in general has been a super big outlet for me. Another thing that I've fallen into, I've been working with my bird feeders outside and definitely like setting up different ways I can set up stations, looking at it from a scientific perspective, but it's also fun because you are kind of creating something. And that's been the same way with like my photography too. I do a lot of bird photography, or a lot of photography in general, and I've been pretty recently falling heavily into bird photography. I actually just came back from a forest preserve today, just doing bird pictures. And that's a great way if you want to kind of branch out a little bit from just birding, with binoculars. If you have the right tools, obviously, capabilities, but even if you just want to take pictures of birds that are at your feeders, or if you want to scope out, see if anything's hanging out in your nest box that you built, and just kind of watch and take pictures. You don't have to take pictures of birds. Obviously, being creative is just such a great outlet. But since I'm the bird guy, and that's kind of the whole point of this channel, I figured I'd probably talk about it in the realm of birds, just because. But that's another thing that I've been doing, and it's really great when you get into post editing, all that kind of stuff, and it's just fun to kind of, like I said, create. So my tip number 1 would be just get creative. Get your juices flowing, your brain, get it engaged, because that's going to keep you from being preoccupied about everything else. There's a lot of negativity going around in the world right now, and it really, really sometimes gets hard not to internalize that. So being able to take that kind of branch, like being able to step away from all the negativity in the world and not have to think, not think about science, because science right now is saying we're all pretty screwed, I love science, but it just kind of is a downer sometimes. just being able to step away from all that, all the media, all the noise and everything like that, by being creative, it's one of the best things that I've been able to do to keep my mind off of it and keep me from going insane in quarantine. And I can honestly say I highly recommend it to you guys. Tip number 2 that I have, get your studying, bird IDing, just practice, basically. Go through reps. I know what I've been doing is I've been looking through all of my guides. I have a lot of different guides just because I like to collect them. I think they're really cool to have, and I love the varying artwork in the different ones. You know, looking at a Sibley versus a Nat Geo versus a Kaufman. I love comparing across all of the other ones. Notice how I didn't say Crossley. And I love comparing across all of them. So I have a lot of different ones, and all of them come with really great tips and tricks for identifying between different birds. Sibley does a lot of great artwork that displays a lot of really important characteristics for bird identifications. Nat Geo does a bunch of different poses. If you're into Crossley, guys, it shows you a bunch of different views that you can get of a bird. And all of these, comparing between all of these, is honestly great practice I've found just for, by visuals alone, being able to better identify a bird. It's super easy to do. Obviously, if you have the books, you can order them from Amazon if you want. Usually you can find them cheap from like secondhand retailers. I know a lot of my guys are from Half Price Books, which aren't open in stores right now, but I know a lot of them do deliveries and all that. So it's really easy if you want to pick up a new guide to go pick up a new guide. Using eBird, like the synopsis or the video tutorial that I did on last week, all those capabilities for birding, looking at where birds are, you know, you can study up when birds, like warbler migration is coming up, you can study up when that's going to be hitting because it's pretty comparable to what, you know, last year would be. And if you sort by year, you get a pretty good prediction of what you're looking forward to. You can also, another tool that I use personally that I got from out of my ornithology class, but right now is a really great tool to use, is something called Thayer Birding Software. And I'll put a link to their website down in the description below because Thayer Birding Software is one of the most life-changing things that I've been able to use in the realm of like my development as a birder. And basically Thayer, it does a lot of sorting by region. So like you can take quizzes on different birds. You can do quizzes based on pictures alone. You can do pictures and sounds. You can do just sounds alone, which is something that I do a lot to practice just because I really like birding by ear. And so that's something that I have tried to make myself better at. But there's so many capabilities with it that I can't describe in just this short of a video. So I'm actually planning on probably doing a video within the next week or two or so. But the reason I recommend Thayer so highly right now is because I just got literally notified today, just saw it in a Facebook group that I'm in, that Thayer, due to all the coronavirus stuff and everything and all the quarantine and all the stress that's going on, they're actually making all their downloads, all their subscriptions to their software free. Normally, it's just been high schoolers can get Thayer birding software free, and then as an adult or a college student, you have to pay for it. You have to get it through your university or something like that. But because of Corona and COVID-19 and all this that's been going on, they're actually releasing it free for everybody. And so if you go on their website, which again, I'll put a link in the description below, you can download the software with a promo code for free and just jump in and explore it. And that's maybe one of the most highly recommended things I can give to you guys right now, because Thayer has literally changed my life as far as birding goes. I can't recommend it enough. And the fact that it's free now, like, take advantage of this. I know I totally would be if I didn't have it already. And I'm sharing this with a lot of my friends who want to get into birding more seriously. So just anything that you can do to kind of keep up on your IDs and all that is really going to be helpful because, one, it's also really good at taking your mind off of everything that's going on, because for me at least, it's really easy to get lost in the world of birds. But two, birding is kind of like riding a bike, where once you know it, you don't know it. But it's also not like riding a bike, because it's kind of like you really easily, if you don't keep doing it and you don't stay up with it, can fall off. And that is really hard to recover from sometimes, especially if you kind of fall off with your ID prowess right when you're hitting warbler migration. You're just going to be like, oh my God. And it's just hard to get back into the game so quickly with stuff, and it can get really overwhelming. So tip number 2, keep up with IDs, keep up with your practice, all that kind of stuff. Don't let coronavirus get you down. And then my third and honestly most important tip that I can give would be to bird locally. Like I said at the start of the video, I know a lot of state parks and all those kind of places are going and getting closed down right now. And for a lot of people, that's been a big turnoff in birding. I know I just heard about last week that Fernald Nature Preserve in the greater Cincinnati area has been closed down, and I know a lot of my friends really bummed about that. And personally, I really am too. It's not like I really could go anyways, because that's a 5-hour drive east, and that seems a bit excessive for birding unless there's something like I don't know, like a if a gargany would show up, I think I'd make that drive. Other than that, I'm not really going to make that drive. But I know a lot of people have been really turned off of it right now because a lot of these big state parks, really important bird conservation areas, are getting closed down. And the only thing I can say to that is just don't let that change the way that you're going out your routine. There's so much. And the one thing that I love about birding is that it really, when I fell in love with it, it introduced this whole new world to me that I had never known before. Before, I would go hiking in the woods and I'd just be like, wow, look at that tree. Wow, this is nice. I love walking in nature. And once I started learning how to bird and learning all the diversity, especially in the summer months, that birds bring to an ecosystem, it exploded. All of a sudden I was noticing scarlet tanagers and blue jays and orioles and more than just the average robin. And that's something that you can translate anywhere. I know my backyard, I would never have thought of my backyard as a bird location. Currently, as it stands, I've seen almost 50 species of birds just in my backyard. Everything from last summer was mowing the lawn, looked up and saw a yellow-billed cuckoo, which definitely kind of surprised me a little bit, to just last week getting my first ever purple finch hanging out at one of my feeders that I have set up. Something I never would have expected. And that's the only thing I can urge you guys, is that don't shy away from birding your backyards, random tree lots, all of that, because you never know what you're going to find. I never would be able to predict that I would have seen purple finch just hanging out of my feeder outside, literally 5 feet from me as I was sitting there watching the feeders. But, here I am, and one more life bird on the list. And there's so much out there that you'll miss if you decide not to go out birding just because the hotspots are closed. Hotspots are great. Hotspots are incredible. But they're not the only resources that we have as birders. And that's really my biggest thing, is I'm really passionate about local conservation in general. And so for me, birding out in my backyard is one of my favorite things to do. But don't shy away from it, because just because you think you're only going to see a cardinal or a robin, that doesn't mean you're not going to see anything. And quite frankly, I love listing trash birds too. I don't think any birds are trash except house sparrows. Screw you, house sparrows. But everything else, report everything. Why not? It's research for eBird, and it's definitely better than nothing. And that's really all I can say about that. I think that it's really important to stay engaged with your environment. And if that just means your backyard, I highly recommend it, because you never, ever, ever know what you're going to find, especially with songbird migration literally right around the corner. All I'm going to say is don't knock it till you try it. I used to, then I saw a purple finch. Now I'm not anymore. So that's tip 3, bird locally. That's all I really got for you guys. Sorry, this is a pretty boring video, I'd say, in the realm of things. Not that I really released anything groundbreaking yet. Definitely reach out to me. As I've said, I'll put my email in the description below again. If there's any video ideas that you have, I know one thing I'd like to do is a photography workshop, and then I'm going to do a Thayer workshop too. So look forward to those in the upcoming weeks, while we're all quarantined. Thank you again for joining me. Really appreciate your guys' time, sharing your time with me, sharing your days with me. And then, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and happy birding, everybody. Thanks. See you guys next time.